The illusion of stability. Most people believe that stability is something permanent, a fixed state, a place you arrive at and remain in. In reality, stability is temporary by nature. It is a pause between changes, not the absence of them. We are taught to seek certainty, a stable job, a predictable routine, a clear plan for the future. Yet history repeatedly demonstrates that certainty is fragile. Economic systems shift. Industries disappear. Skills that were once valuable lose relevance. The uncomfortable truth is that adaptability, not stability, is what sustains long-term success. This idea is often misunderstood. Adaptability does not mean chaos or constant reinvention. It means developing the ability to respond intelligently to change. A person with adaptable thinking does not panic when circumstances shift. They analyze. They adjust. They move forward with intention rather than fear. This mindset is particularly important in language learning at advanced levels. Progress becomes subtle. You no longer notice dramatic improvement from one day to the next. Instead, growth happens beneath the surface. You begin to recognize tone rather than words, intent rather than grammar, nuance rather than structure. This is where many learners become frustrated. They feel stuck, not realizing that this stage is precisely where mastery begins. True fluency is not about speaking faster. It is about choosing words more accurately. It is about pausing when silence communicates more than sound. Consider how educated native speakers communicate. They do not fill every moment with speech. They allow space. They allow meaning to settle. Advanced communication is economical. Each word serves a purpose. This is why listening at a high level matters more than speaking. When you listen carefully, you start to hear patterns, not patterns of grammar, but patterns of thought. You notice how arguments are constructed, how emphasis is placed, how disagreement is softened without being weakened. These skills cannot be memorized. They must be absorbed. That absorption requires exposure. Long exposure, uncomfortable exposure. At C1 level, the goal is not comprehension alone. It is interpretation. You are no longer asking, "What does this sentence mean?" You are asking, "Why was it said this way?" This shift changes everything. You begin to understand irony, subtle criticism, polite distance. You recognize when confidence is genuine and when it is performative. Language, at this level, becomes psychological. It reveals priorities. Power dynamics. Unspoken assumptions. This is why pronunciation matters differently at C1. You are not working on clarity alone. You are working on credibility. Intonation signals confidence. Stress signals intention. Pauses signal control. A slight change in rhythm can transform a statement from uncertain to authoritative. This is not theatrical. It is functional. In professional environments, people trust voices that sound deliberate, not loud, not fast, deliberate. The ability to slow down your speech while maintaining complexity is one of the clearest markers of advanced proficiency. It shows that you are thinking in the language, not translating into it. This is also why advanced learners must resist oversimplification. Simple language is useful, but limited language is dangerous. If you cannot express uncertainty, hesitation, or strategic doubt, you cannot fully participate in high-level discussions. Fluency without depth creates false confidence. Depth requires patience. You will misunderstand people at this level. Even native speakers do. The difference is how you recover. Advanced speakers clarify without embarrassment. They ask precise questions. They reformulate instead of retreating. This is competence. Now listen to how this sounds when read aloud. Notice the pacing, the weight of certain words, the intentional pauses. This is how C1 English lives, not in speed, but in control. Asterisk, one of the most underestimated skills in advanced communication is the ability to think clearly under pressure, not quickly. Clearly. Speed often creates the illusion of competence. Clarity reveals the truth. In high-level discussions, people rarely remember who spoke the fastest. They remember who framed the problem accurately. This is where language becomes a tool of precision rather than expression at an advanced level. You are no longer using English to survive conversations. You are using it to shape them. This requires restraint. Restraint in word choice. Restraint in tone. Restraint in emotional reaction. Strong communicators do not rush to fill silence. They allow silence to work for them. Silence signals confidence. It suggests that the speaker is not searching for words, but selecting them. This distinction is subtle, yet powerful. Many advanced learners struggle here because they associate pauses with weakness. In reality, uncontrolled speech is far more revealing than controlled silence. Consider professional environments. Meetings are not won by volume. They are influenced by structure. A well-placed summary can redirect an entire conversation. A carefully phrased question can expose flawed assumptions without confrontation. This is why vocabulary expansion at C1 must be intentional. Not more words, better words. Words that allow you to hedge without sounding uncertain. Words that allow you to disagree without sounding defensive. Words that allow you to assert authority without arrogance. These are not decorative skills. They are functional. For example, compare these two statements. I don't think that's correct. Versus, I'm not convinced that interpretation fully accounts for the data. Both express disagreement. Only one preserves professional alignment. Advanced listening trains you to hear these distinctions. You start noticing how educated speakers soften claims while strengthening impact. They reduce emotional exposure while increasing intellectual pressure. This balance is learned through exposure, not explanation. You must hear it repeatedly, in different voices, in different contexts. Only then does it become instinctive. Pronunciation at this level follows the same principle. You are no longer aiming for correctness alone. You are aiming for natural authority. Authority is conveyed through stress patterns, through timing, through certainty in downward intonation. Uncertain speakers end statements with rising tones. Confident speakers allow their voice to settle. This is not cultural imitation. It is communicative signaling. Listeners subconsciously respond to it. That response determines whether your message is trusted, questioned, or ignored. This is why advanced pronunciation work focuses less on individual sounds and more on sentence-level control. You are shaping meaning across entire thoughts, not syllables. Now consider how advanced speakers handle complexity. They do not simplify ideas prematurely. They segment them. They introduce context. They narrow focus. They guide the listener step by step without reducing intellectual depth. This is a critical distinction. Oversimplification insults the listener. Clear structuring respects them. At C1, your goal is not to sound impressive. It is to sound intentional. Intentional speech reflects intentional thinking. This becomes especially important when discussing abstract topics, ethics, economics, psychology, strategy. These subjects demand linguistic flexibility. You must move between concrete examples and abstract reasoning without losing coherence. That movement defines advance. Fluency. Notice how effective speakers transition. On a practical level, the broader implication here is what this suggests in the long term. These phrases act as cognitive signposts. They guide the listener's attention. Advanced listening trains you to recognize and eventually deploy them naturally. Over time, you stop translating ideas into English. You begin forming ideas within English. This is the true threshold between high proficiency and mastery. At that point, mistakes still occur. But they are no longer structural. They are strategic. You choose risk deliberately. You test phrasing. You refine through feedback. This is how professionals operate in their native languages as well. Perfection is not the goal. Precision is now. As you listen to this text, notice the rhythm. Long sentences followed by short ones. Complex ideas anchored by simple conclusions. This contrast maintains attention. It allows the listener to breathe. This is how advanced English is meant to sound: controlled, deliberate, and intellectually grounded.